Hey everyone, this is Rob Keens with goldsilverpros.com. I have a very special couple of guests here today. I have Ivan Bebek as the co-founder and co-chair of Tier 1 Silver, along with Peter Dembicki, who is the president and chief executive officer. Ivan and Peter, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you for having us. Real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely wanted to have you guys on. I know, Ivan, I met you and your team back a couple of years ago at PDAC in 2019. I think the last in-person one that they had. And you guys had a little cocktail party and were introducing the company. And I got really excited back then because I saw the potential of what you guys had. And I think since then you've gone through some changes, and now we have, Tier 1 Silver. So maybe you can tell the audience a little bit about your history and what Tier 1 Silver is. And
Sure. Yeah, great. It was great to meet you back then, and it's awesome to be here now because a lot of great things have happened. But just a bit of a history report card for those that don't know about us. First company was Keegan Resources. Myself and Sean Wallace set out to go find 5 million ounces of gold, and we actually did it in Africa. Stock went from 50 cents to $9 per share to about a $900 million market cap last bull market. And this was, this is what we do. We're explorationists. We want to go for that 15, 20 times your money return. So in the peak of that company, deciding whether it was going to build the mine or not, we did not sell it. We went and started Caden Resources. And this company had a huge success in the bear market, where we got into a great project in Mexico, started drilling, and 100 holes later, without a resource, we sold it to Agnico Eagle for over $200 million or $360 per share. And Agnico subsequently doubled 14 months later. And so you would have got $7+ per share in the middle of the bear market. That kind of springboarded us to go and raise, north of 100 million, trying to find even bigger mines. And we really, really improved our technical team, meaning we went and got some great geologists out of Newmont. These were the global heads of their departments, real serious guys. And, we took down the hardest thing to possibly do, go find world-class, world beater type of discoveries that would make all the wealth that you dream about as an exploration investor. And that's what Orange started to show in 3 different commodities. And Tier 1 Silver was a silver commodity there. It was a silver project that we didn't know much about until January this year, when Peter Dembicki, who's our CEO, joined us. And then all these great things started happening, from getting getting drill permits and finding a huge amount of bonanza grade silver and gold on surface on one of the most prolific mining belts globally down in southern Peru. And now we're at the forefront where drills just started turning today. And so it's a really exciting time for us where we sit right now.
yeah, talk a little bit about the formation of the company. You guys IPO'd recently. You've done really well from a share price perspective, and like you said, you're already into turning drills. So you're moving very quickly.
Yeah, I'll take that for sure. It's been a great ride since I popped on board the team January 1st. And, we worked really hard getting through the exchange and really providing that shareholder value for all the Orange shareholders. And for our new shareholders, we really wanted to make a statement as well. So we did an incredible job. Sometimes you have to tell the story. Sometimes the project and the asset tells a story for you. And in this case, I've said it time and time again, it's just incredible. People see the work that we've done, the project, the grade, and the potential that this could possibly be a world-class discovery, and it really did the work for us. So we had our listing mid last week. We came out of the gates really strong. We were really happy with the liquidity it's provided shareholders. So for the legacy shareholders from the Orange Group, we couldn't be more happy, and we're so happy how patient they were with us. And for our new shareholders coming aboard, now's the time. The drills are turning. It's getting really exciting. So we are, this is the anxious time. Of course, we want to see how these first drills go, but we are locked to this thing for the next couple of years, because we are that, we're that confident that there's something there. So it's a great time.
I want to get into the project specifics for sure, because just looking at the chart of some of your results is by itself, I think sells the opportunity. But I want to talk a little bit about silver first. Why silver? Why in this environment is it so important to be invested in silver if you want to get into the PM space?
Oh, I'll start with that one. And Peter, I'm sure you have some strong points. Rob, for me, it's real simple. Best performing equity on a discovery, best performing metal. I mean, a lot of more uses besides just currency. It's actually got fundamental industrial use to it as well. And I think it has the most leverage on a performing commodity, which will be dramatic in silver companies that have silver or might find big silver discoveries. So if you're looking for that leveraged return towards a commodity that is poised to perform extremely well over the next few years with a lot of uses besides counter-inflationary or currency uses, silver meets, it wins. It's number one. And, $25, $30 an ounce, from what we're hearing and what we're seeing and what a lot of people are talking about, it could easily double or quadruple in the next 12 to 24 months. And that, having that in the background as a commodity, that's quite difficult to find, especially when talking about the grades that we've seen at our project. It's really, that's my favorite commodity to be part of in terms of potentially performing. Peter, any thoughts on your end?
Great points, Ivan, and Rob. We follow you closely, and your followers as well. And so we know that there's issues on a macro scale as far as demand versus supply and the COMEX, and trust me, we're watching that, and I follow it closely, and I'm a believer as well. As a project and running an exploration company, obviously we have to keep the horse blinders on, focus on what we're doing, make sure we bring that to market to really provide value. So we're believers, we love it, but let's not forget the fact that, we found some samples that are approaching 300,000 grams per ton silver, but we also found over 900 grams per ton gold. So we can't ignore that fact at all either. Silver is a great backdrop. It provides that torquey energy, and it's a great reflection of our attitude as well. We're going for it. Like, we are going for the big one. And the silver crowd out there, we really feel there's a lot of synergies there with that. So, we're all over it.
I think there's huge potential in silver. I've looked at your project. I think there is really ridiculous potential. And I don't say that easily. I'm a former auditor, so I don't use those words unless I mean them. I want to talk a little bit about that supply demand. The Silver Institute came out in November last year and talked about us needing world demand over 1 billion ounces in 2021 for the first time in human history. And most of that was industrial demand. And that was before we had the silver squeeze earlier this year. So silver demand is going up. And I think that the price dynamics for that long term are going to be very strong. What are your thoughts on the potential? I know the U.S. Geological Society said they think silver may be the first element off the board, meaning silver may run out in terms of overall demand before the other elements that we have, all the other elements. So it's more rare than anything else that we mine because of the demand. What are your thoughts on the potential for maybe a supply deficit in the coming years and what that could potentially do for silver?
Well, I think that potential is huge, and silver is not that expensive right now. It's relatively cheap for where it's going. And if you look at how small the silver market is relative to one tech company or something, and you use the word global demand and stuff, this could run out really fast. And then I know there's a series of producers, and we hear from some of them because we have this exciting project that's on the verge of delivering on that silver discovery that's needed. But there hasn't been a huge amount of silver discoveries in the past few decades. And this is another reason why we're super excited about it. I think you're seeing this across copper, gold, and silver as well, but silver specifically, I think you're going to see demand outpace supply here. And one thing no one's paying attention to is the rate of discovery and how low it is, or how low it's become. And was it the bear market that really crippled discoveries? People weren't spending enough money. I think plenty were. I think it more has to do with looking at all the easy silver mines have been found. And that's something as somebody that has explored for 20 years, looking at several exploration projects, it was a lot different back in the 2005 to 2011 market. There was a lot of discoveries. There was a lot of silver things that were growing. There was a lot of room to go find assets that could actually deliver. We, again, and I go back to Oren, we spent over 100 million looking at all three commodities, silver, copper, and gold. And we're finding something that's never been drilled before, that's outside the box on a base metal belt, some of the biggest mines in the world. And now we're looking at this huge potential silver endowment. And then, we all know Peru is just above Bolivia. There's been some great silver discoveries there. There's some other great silver mines in Peru. So, from that perspective, I think we're looking at a market that's running out of discoveries, metal, and it takes time to put these things in production if you find them, especially when you have the geopolitical, adjustments towards higher metal prices. So look towards an industry long-term that's going to face a lot of demand supply issues for sure. And I'm going to pick my favorite part about it is no one's finding it. And I think that's a good thing as an explorer, and it's a tough thing as a producer.
Yeah. I want to talk about management because it's one of the things that I think often gets overlooked at companies. You guys have a track record and a really great management team. In fact, I'm just going to share something from your slide deck for a moment. Talk a little bit about the team that you've assembled, Ivan, and how important it is to have a really good world-class team.
Oh, well, first off, I guess I'm on the other page, but we are in a position here. I mean, with Peter, and I'll explain a bit of where it came from and where it is. So Sean and I were the two founders of the group, and we basically were running Orin. And when we split into three, we needed help in one facet of our company. We wanted to improve our finance ability, and we didn't need any more on the technical side. Our geologists, Michael Henriksen and Dave Smithson, they come from Newmont. These are former global experts within Newmont. They work with a lot of global experts from Newmont. They found, really huge amount of ounces when they were at Newmont and saw a lot of projects globally. So when you go look for it, you want to have your science to the maximum amount of capability that you can find. And we've done that. Our geologists are from the largest mining company in the world. In terms of financeability and marketing, which is the other 50% of any investment you're going to make, bringing Peter in, who has a brokerage background, we joined us from Canaccord, was paramount. And we wanted somebody, a CEO that could lead us down the road and make sure that we get a premium on whatever we find. We are very shareholder minded, as we are large shareholders ourselves. And we think that way with every decision we make. So bringing Peter in, that was our biggest loophole that we had to fill in terms of strength for management. And that's where we've complemented technical as well as Peter and his background, on the financial market side. So now we're set. We're set to go make a huge discovery by some very smart people that have a very big needle threshold that they want to meet before it's something significant. And we have a marketing team and a CEO that's very capital markets friendly. So we can be very anti-dilutive, attract really high quality investors, and drive that business plan forward.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. Thanks, Ivan. I mean, when I had the opportunity to join Ivan and the team, looking at that management team and the technical team that they had in place was phenomenal. I come from the investment industry where I had very strict guidelines onto what I would put my clients into and what I would invest my own money into, and I had to check off a lot of boxes. And so many times, I would be stuck sometimes in what I call the field of dreams scenario. If you build it, they will come. And you have an operator or a geologist or someone very, very technical, which is fantastic to have in place. But when you're running a public company, it takes on a whole new meaning. And you have to have someone that is 100% dedicated to capital markets and 100% dedicated to doing their technical operations. And so I was the last piece of the puzzle to come on board this all-star team. And the reason why we come across so excited and so confident is because of the confidence that we have in our team and our leadership. Everybody plays their role, everybody has responsibilities, and everybody's executing. And so far, since I've joined just January 1st, it has really played out like that. We've had some luck, of course, with all the permits that we've received and the results that we've been getting back on our flagship Curvaya, as well as our other portfolio projects that we have. Phenomenal data. These are all standalone projects that anyone would drop what they're doing to join. So it falls in line like that, and the harder you work, the luckier you get, I truly believe. And it's just a great team. It's a great team to be a part of.
Yeah. Now I want to transition to what you guys have been finding, because I think this is really exciting. I'm going to pull up your deck again. Just walk me through some of the stuff that you guys are finding at Curvaya and what it means.
Sure, I'll start here. I mean, these are the highlights. We've taken about 1,200 samples, and we just used 500 grams silver because there's so much high grade as a cutoff, meaning we're not including anything under 500 grams just because there's so much of it. But 80 samples are running up to 300 kilo, as you can see here. Several are north of a kilo, and then you look at the gold numbers, and as Peter pointed out, this is such a silver-rich surface bonanza kind of vein system that's all emanating from one spot. And you look at the gold grades, and again, we're using 2 gram cutoff, which is quite high on world standards of a gold for a deposit, but they go right up to 934 gram gold. I mean, the top grades are really impressive. They're all sourcing from one area. They're all emanating from one spot. And then the best part about all of this is it actually formed the same time as some of these massive mines next door, Tocopala, Quellaveco, and Serra Verde. And so when you find a bunch of high grade, when you find, a lot of this, you have a couple of questions. One is, did this all happen in an event when some huge mines were formed around the world? And the answer is yes, it did. That's the first question. That's more important than almost in the grade in some cases, but we have both. The second one is what happens underneath all of that high grade. And here's a good display in this image is showing you the dispersion of all the multi 200 gram and up to multi kilo. We even show you where the 300 kilo silver is, as well as the 10 kilo silver there too. But it's all coming, as you can see, from one spot. And what we're showing you with the two circles, the chargeability anomaly is showing you where there's sulfide. The silver and the gold is associated with sulfide. We have a nice bullseye. You're looking from the sky down here on the project. And then the black dashed line, you see the magnetic anomaly might be the event that created all of this much deeper down, but also would be a target that we would drill. So our targeting will be vertically from surface down to north of a kilometer, starting with the first 700 meters being predominantly precious metal before we get into potentially a base metal or a precious metal intrusion that created all of this. It's really one of a kind this way. The grade endowment is spectacular. It is really spectacular. And, being an explorationist that loves risk versus reward, the reward here is huge. And the downside risk is it could take time. When you go and drill underneath high grade like this, you're looking for pockets, feeder structures that can be from 3 to 10 meters wide. Some could be a lot wider, but that might take drill hole number 15 or 20. On our board is a gentleman that we didn't mention earlier, but we should, Antonio Ribas. He was the chief geologist for Newmont and BHP in terms of exploration. And his comment to us in one of our board meetings was very succinct. He said, look, I've seen this 4 or 5 times in the world, and these things ended up becoming something substantial, but they didn't always happen in the first company that drilled them. You need the perseverance and the patience to go do it, right? And if you can pull up that one slide there, which is the next slide after there, which shows the subsurface, kind of a slice of the earth and what our science, this one here, this is really spectacular because you see all the high grade in those squares on surface. You see the veins all coming from surface right down to that plus 50 millivolt kind of bullseye. I mean, I could pick the drill holes. I joke, I'm not a geologist. I joke that I could do it. It's not that complex, but imagine that. Something formed an event and all these veins shot up the surface. And on surface, you're at the leaves of the tree. The next layer down, the green layer, which is the volcanics, that's the branches. And then you get into the thicker branches in the trunk as you come down into that Labra Formation sandstone. And what everybody needs to know when they look at this image is that yellowish unit called the Labra sandstone unit. That is the most permissive host rock in all of Peru for epithermal deposits. It doesn't bend, it is not soft, it's not spongy, it fractures. The only way that the gold or silver, if they're coming up from that 150 millivolt charge, can get to surface if that rock breaks apart and pockets of silver and gold hopefully sit in those pockets. So those are some of our targets. If you look at the 50 millivolt charge, I mean, this is like the true bullseye. If you actually measure that with the most dense part of that signal that we're getting, it's about 100 meters or so wide. We're going to drill across all of these veins on a surface, across the feeder structure, through that, into that big magnetic kind of purplish ball underneath all of this. And there's a chance that the entire thing is mineralized. I mean, you're on a huge belt. What's different about this target and the few mines next door that are incredibly huge mines is that their silver zone or their precious metal, silver and gold zone, is actually eroded away, and their deposits start right where that magnetic anomaly is occurring. So what we think we have here is a fully preserved precious metal system on top of potentially a big base metal system. And that would be, that's a 10 out of 10 in terms of discovery. Last point I'll make is the grade and the distance from the surface down to that big bullseye. It's about 600-700 meters. That's a lot of potential veins and plumbing that goes to the surface, bringing the grade up there. The risk is the grade and width. Is it going to be 1 meter of 10 kilos silver, or 5 meters of 10 kilos silver, or is it going to be 3 or 4 meters of 300 grams silver? We don't know that. It could be 100 meters of 50 grams silver. That is where the lottery ticket starts drilling, and that started already. So we don't know, but we know the possibilities are really high. We know the grade on surface is really high. This is not complicated science. You sample a bunch of high grade on surface. You see it all pointing to one target below surface with plumbing that goes right to surface, which we use an electrical current to measure that. And then you just drill, and you drill a lot. And we have 40 pads, which is 80 holes we can drill into this. We start a 6,000 meter program, I think today or yesterday. And so it'll take us 12 to 14 days to finish each hole because the holes are going to be about 700 meters deep. And we're just going to keep drilling, and we're going to get about 4 or 5 targets per hole, which is pretty cool because you're not just drilling one little thin target. You got 4 or 5 down each drill hole. So it could really give for us. And the first hole should be back late July.
Great. So talk a little bit about what you guys are going to be doing for the rest of the year. What is your plan for drilling and further exploration and news that people can follow?
Sure thing. So obviously the drills turning are going to be the highlight for us, the one that everybody's been waiting for. It was a big lead up for us to get to market as well. We have a lot more data on Curibaya still yet to be released, which I think will add even more confidence to the project for our shareholders and potential shareholders or people that are watching us. And let's not forget, when we set off on this adventure with Tier 1, we took on the portfolio approach. So we really wanted to provide shareholders not only a way to mitigate the risk. I mean, we're in their exploration business. It is high risk, and we want to give our shareholders multiple opportunities and provide a lot of value. So each one of the projects within our portfolio carries a huge swing. These are all very, very high quality, and our technical team, we commend them for sourcing these projects out. So we're going to be doing more work in the background, albeit quietly. Obviously, Curibaya is our flagship, so we'll be screaming that one from the rooftops. But there's some really exciting data coming out on those other projects that everyone's going to want to be paying attention to. So as we progress, it's just going to be results, data, people getting excited. So it's lots to come. It's going to be a flurry of activity for sure.
Yeah. And from an investment perspective, just for people who are watching this, want to know where you guys are. I think you're sort of on the left side of the beginning part of the Lassonde curve. Lots of room for growth there as you guys build up your news and then eventually get to, a mine decision. Do you expect that you guys are going to develop this and mine it yourselves, or is there optionality there for perhaps somebody else taking the project on?
Yeah, I'll take that one. We've had a lot of interest based on what we're seeing and where we are. And Peter's commonly pointed out, we're surrounded by, a lot of majors, Teck, Rio Tinto, BHP, Valley, everyone's there because of this belt endowment. So in a discovery like this, if we get it right, it's not a good discovery. It's a once in a lifetime kind of event. Mm-hmm. And generally, and based on our last company, you'll get bought early, if that happens. It'll be a shareholder's choice and hopefully a skyrocketing share price that goes with it, right? We are a serial exploration or a serious exploration company in the sense that we have more than one project. To Peter's point earlier, that portfolio approach, which a lot of people don't understand, it does not bring a huge amount of dilution in terms of capital, but it does spread the risk around and give us a chance to win more times than not, right? What if Curibaya doesn't deliver? And I have to say that because there's two sides to every coin that you flip, right? Mm-hmm. And or what if it takes a long time to do that before you get into it? The other projects are equally as exciting. They're just a bit earlier, but they're going to be drilled in a pipeline fashion. So by Q4, the second project can be drilled, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And then people say, well, look, you're so excited about Curibaya, why have more? I'm a very large shareholder. I'm greedy. I want more. And you know what? We spent 5 years, and with Oren, we went to $3 or $4 a few times, but we didn't really get into that double-digit share price return that we're looking for. And what we did do, though, was we hunted down really good assets, really good real estate, and we bought it all before this market turned up, which we think is going to happen now. So what do you do with the extra assets? We obviously don't give them away. If we were successful in Curibaya and we sold Curibaya, but we kept the other ones, and maybe we sold Amelia or we sold, our Hurricane Silver project next, that would give ourselves a chance to do that incredible model, which I have to compliment Ross Beatty on, what he did with Lumina Copper, where multiple assets worked out for him and he sold the company 4 or 5 times in a row. We are exploration focused. These aren't projects with ounces, but they all do have that really torquey return potential. So take a look at our current share price and you say, well, you're $1.50 Canadian, $1.25 US. I think we're 150 million or so market cap US right now, or 185 Canadian. And people ask, like, this is ridiculous. You don't have ounces, such a high valuation. I can't tell people to buy it here and I can't tell people to sell it here. What I can tell everybody is make sure you own a few shares for the potential what could come out of this drill result. And here's why: because Curibaya by itself is probably once in 50 years that we'll get a chance to see this or come by this, or anybody will. because you haven't seen a project with this kind of grade before in a world-class belt. I don't care about the price. I care about the drills and the opportunity. And if it's there, it's going to make everybody an incredible amount of money.
Yeah, we were just having an investors meeting this morning with quite a few people in finance and also on the influencer side of the business, pooling some resources. And what we decided on silver was buy ounces in the ground, buy good ounces in the ground and hold them because we think the silver price is going to go up. And it seems as though this would be a perfect opportunity. You know, with tier one, you guys are developing the ounces in the ground. And I think that's really the next big opportunity for people. Buy your ounces in the ground, get companies that are going to find that for you, hold on to it for a little while, understand there's going to be long-term price appreciation because it's getting so hard to find good silver like this that's maybe your next big wealth creation opportunity. That was our thought. I didn't know if you guys echoed that sentiment as well.
Yeah, I think that the biggest return, and we saw it in Keegan when it went from 50 cents to $9. We set out to go find something like we're doing now, but this is much bigger than what Keegan was or could have been. And what I'm trying to make a point here is that if you find something new that has never been found before, and no one's ever drilled this project before ever, and it has the right address in terms of some of the world's largest mines, that is the best investor price return. And if the first hole hits properly, I'm not going to give numbers and weights to grades because I'll set expectations, but if it hits properly, you could see a tenfold off that announcement. And that is the explosive result can come. We don't know what it's going to be. It could also not hit anything, and you could have to wait to hole 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 before it happens. But my point to you there is this is kind of like a super lotto ticket, and you're going to get probably 6 or 7 big shots of that super lotto kind of effect overnight on results between now and the end of the year. That's what our goal is to deliver. The silver on surface did not come from the sky. It came from the ground, and then just how all these things are formed. And the geology and the evidence is really strong. The multi-billion dollar question for us is grade and width. Can we repeat that? Is the grade higher as we go lower? Is the width going to be there? Is it going to be 3 meters of a really high quality or high grade vein that we're drilling? Or is it going to be tens of meters of something like that? Who knows? But you can actually say both with this project because of the targeting and because of the endowments. So it's rare. I'd say globally, I don't know of a better undrilled silver opportunity out there, or even gold for that matter. This ranks at the top for me, biased, unbiased. I'll go into a debate with anyone on what's available to be drilled. And I think it's worth watching for sure. Just pay attention. This could be a history-making kind of discovery. And to your point about your investment meeting this morning about having silver and stuff, those companies that have it are all going to go up. They're great companies, and I think the silver space is a great place to be long. But if you want that explosive return on something that could be really new overnight, this is what we're going to offer in that same kind of category of those silver companies.
Find a team that you have full trust in. Find an operations team that you really believe in. Find a project that you're willing to stick with. Silver investors, whether it's physical, whether it's in the capital markets, they understand volatility. And volatility, I'm going to quote a famous author of mine, Morgan Housel. Volatility is your admission. It is your admission to the ride and to the potential discovery. So, stick with it. Will silver go up from this interview forever? No, it's going to have down days. We witnessed yesterday a huge, down flash, but it's eventually the wind is at our back, right? And so find that project that you truly believe in, that checks all of your boxes off, and stick with it. And there'll be volatile days, but that is the price of admission to finding that discovery. So we're sticking with it for years to come, and we encourage everyone else to as well.
Yeah, I think the key there is being patient, like you said, finding a good project, sticking with it, and not trying to trade it. This is not a market you want to trade. This is the market you want to identify resources and hold and wait for the longer term value potential. I wanted to turn the topic to Peru. So I think recently there was some concern in Mexico where you get a lot of silver as well about a political change, regime change that I think was a little bit overblown, because it seems like Mexico, the new administration is very amenable to the miners because they realize that the miners are important. They create jobs, they create value. And so that administration is working with the miners down there. Should people have any concerns about Peru, or do you find that that's a lot more stable than maybe people realize?
I know we have both strong views. I've done business in Mexico. Last company I did was in Mexico, and got to learn all about their political system, good and bad, presidents for mining, and it never got bad, and the business never stopped running the way it needs to run. I think you'll see that across South America. Back when I did business in Keegan in Africa, The government raised royalties and they raised taxes on all the mining companies when gold hit $1,900 an ounce, and it put all the companies on the verge of being economic, right? So every country in the world is going to adjust. The US, Canada, everyone's going to adjust in higher commodity prices because there's going to be a bit more take. In Peru, we just had an election. There was two candidates. One was quite far left and one was more centric right. A lot of people feared the guy very far left, Pedro Castillo, because he said he would nationalize mining early on. And a good thing, a lot of politicians don't hold their promises, but he's backpedaled since then, and he's gone very centric with his cabinet that he's appointing. Actually, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Mining are people we know very well. They're friends of some of the people that work for us. And the direction is going to be very stable and very mindful. I mean, we're coming out of COVID. Countries have just been decimated in their economies. We've been giving out money in North America to people, and you got to look at how detrimental it would be to a country in South America that has 40% or so of their GDP predicated off a business like mining to disrupt that. On the flip side, I think that since the election has kind of transpired, all the towns in the Andes away from Lima, the main city, they're all predominantly left. And there's a little bit of a reach necessary to give a bit more to these communities. We do a lot of sustainable long-term community work, more than your typical company. We're very proud of that, and we're always looking to do more. But in general, the people need to benefit from these mines. That's kind of the movement, but it's not going to be egregious. And lastly, in Chile, where we also do business with another company, they're rewriting their constitution to imply a bit more of a tax. You're not going to see people shoot themselves in the foot and deter foreign investment in countries like Chile and Peru, which have decades of stable mining under all regimes. There's been more left presidents in the past that have said more harsher things. It never went away. The business needs to carry on. The country needs those funds. They just need to manage how it's getting distributed, and they need more participation. I'm sure they do. People have to benefit more if their company has those resources. So, that's my end of it. We're through it. The election's over, and it probably took most of your comments there, Peter, but feel free to add how it's looked to you as maybe from your investment advisor perspective, your previous life. How would you see it from what it was and where it is today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, typical overreaction. Newspapers and they sell stories by headline news, right? They want to create that fear. 90% of the news out there is fear. People don't love to click on, great stories, right? So when this candidate, Pedro Castillo, comes out of nowhere as a former teachers union representative with no political background at all and starts screaming, nationalization and everything, it grabbed the attention of everybody. It was, everybody hit the sell button on anything Peru. Of course, what happens when you start to look into the Congress, into the internal workings of the government, he's not going to be able to get anything done. He has no control over the Congress. He has no relationship with the military. Peru, we're talking about a country that has had 5 presidents within the last 5 years. So it's volatile. It's the velocity of the way things move. So we talk a lot about everybody's investment. What does that mean for the mining? What does that mean for me making money? Let's also talk about the people in Peru, which we have to be cognizant of when we're operating there. We're employing people that are in need as well. So yes, we're bringing jobs, we're bringing opportunity to the people of Peru, but let's talk about the social well-being of the country itself. There was that initial fear that this candidate was going to be, Hugo Chavez and turn the faucets off from anything and really hurt people. As Ivan mentioned, Peru got decimated by COVID, and it's in a tough spot. That there were the haves and have-nots and a huge discrepancy in the wealth gap as well. So it's really coming to light that Mr. Castillo, if he gets in and Keiko Fujimori doesn't successfully overturn the election, it won't be the worst thing whatsoever. He has already started to appoint his ministers, and they are very centrist. They understand they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. They also want to maintain strong relationships with all the mining community as well. So really, from an investment standpoint, it's always the headline news that shakes people out. What an opportunity now. I mean, you look at some of the largest publicly traded companies that operations in Peru, they haven't really budged much at all on any of this election noise. And then more importantly, the people. Let's talk about the have-nots of the world. down in Peru, and they need to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that means higher taxes and royalties on the producers, well, tell me what country is lowering taxes. Sure not happening in Canada, right? And we have a far left government up here that you could argue is very concerning as far as which way they're leaning, and anti-business as well. So Peru's going to be okay. They're going to be okay, and we hope it really improves down there. And so, again, we're watching everything on a daily basis. We have a great team on the ground in Peru that keeps us up to date on everything, whether it's social unrest, political, headline news, tell us what to worry about. But we're completely plugged in, and as we should be, because we need to provide that information to our shareholders whenever they need it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that gets forgotten is you need business to succeed as a country. And one of the best businesses in Peru is the mining industry. And they definitely have to keep that going. It employs people, it provides tax revenue, it provides development opportunities. I've been to towns in Mexico where they opened a mine and it went from nobody owning their own home or their own vehicle to actually having a house, having a vehicle, being able to send their kids off to get schooling, being able to put clothes on their kids. And so it's, mining often has a big positive impact on communities that often doesn't get talked about. But I've seen it with my own eyes, and I've interviewed people in communities and in various places around the world that said the mine is everything to us. It's our opportunity. It's our chance to live that middle class lifestyle that we never would have had otherwise. Mm. And so from my perspective, I've been on the ground so much and having these interviews with people that I see it as very positive. The mine's employing the local people. I've never heard a negative story of a mine coming in, employing the locals, and them saying, "Oh, this is a horrible opportunity." It's always the opposite. A couple of minutes left in there. If you guys, any last points that you want to make for our audience about your company and the potential there?
I just want everyone to take away from this interview how rare the opportunity is at Caribaya, how rare it is in terms of location, the grade we've seen on surface, and the strong evidence we've had to a target. It certainly does not guarantee the discovery, but it guarantees that if the discovery is there, it could be one of the world's biggest ones on the silver side. Yeah. We're not a one-trick pony. We have 3 or 4 backups in case this doesn't work, but all of them could work at the same time. We've created something really real here with a group of very smart people, and we have strong abilities to finance, and we're well funded, but to finance further things that we plan to do here. We're going to treat this company as shareholders, and we're going to maximize any kind of success we have due to the shortages in future discoveries, the leverage and the potential silver price moving forward. This is the best address that we could come up with globally for a big one.
And I'll just close with, for any of your audience that this is the first time being introduced to Tier 1, urge you to go to our website. We have a great video that highlights our flagship project. Take a look, take a close look at our presentation deck to understand it. We're happy to take any incoming inquiries into our projects and why we're so excited. And again, Ivan mentioned it earlier in the interview. I mean, look at our share price. Maybe we can't quantify where we're trading in our valuation pre-drilling, let's call it, but we can certainly quantify the opportunity. And when you take a really close look and see what we're on, hopefully on the verge of finding, you'll probably find that we're fairly valued.
All right, Ivan, Peter, thank you so much for joining us and giving us the opportunity to talk to you about Tier 1 Silver.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Robert.
Hey guys, if you like the research that you just saw in the previous video, I'd like to invite you to join our research intelligence team. This is a group of individuals who do research for us and submit it to us so that we can have it on the air. We'll keep you anonymous, but we'd like to leverage all of your talents in providing us information. Many of you have emailed me in the past, but I just get flooded with emails and don't have time to go through them all. But if you have links to information about the things that we like to talk about on the channel, we would like to see your contributions and incorporate it into our research. So please click on the Google Forms doc below, sign up for that. We'll get you added to the research team and get you a place where you can drop that information. And we will look forward to your contributions and appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Thank you so much.